occasionally you see a parent and child with a tremendous relationship, an absolute connection. And you wonder how that came about. How nice it would be if you had that sort of relationship with your child. If your child really wanted to spend time with you as it grew up, when it became an adult, when the connection was still that strong. You see it, but not that often. And one wonders how it came about. If you back up a bit to when you were a little child, just starting to become aware of the world, there was that you inside you, which was everything. That was you. And it was learning, it was experiencing, it was seeing everything, it was taking in everything, along with developing new skills like learning to walk and learning to feed itself. There was that central thing in it, which was the child's very being. It was just being and living and being happy. And then slowly, slowly, the outside world was imposed upon the child, and its attention shifted, or your attention shifted, if you remember back that far back, and it started to become aware of its position in the world, who it was. It was no longer just that being, but it was now a projection, and things were added to its image of itself. How it did at school, how many friends it had, how its parents reacted to it, and in its quiet moments, perhaps moments of despair even, or solitude, it returned briefly to its real self and wondered what was going on out there. When it became a teenager, and going through everything teenagers go through, it occasionally withdrew into itself, into its real being. It retreated there for security, for solitude, and hoping to make sense of things. And when it became an adult, there were just as many changes and traumas and things added to your picture of yourself. So you became something. Whatever you were doing for a living, how much education you'd had, how many friends you'd had, what sort of boyfriend or girlfriend you'd had, or didn't have. Until you formed a picture of yourself, and you lived from that picture. But one can see that picture wasn't real. Your real being inside was you. When you felt distressed, you kind of returned into that being and wondered why the outside was so harsh. And so on, all through your life until you start to get old. And when you got old, you thought, I don't feel old. You know, when you were 45, you felt like you're still a kid. When you're 65, you feel no different. When you're 75, you're still just a child. Or so you feel. You feel your being. You feel that person that's inside you. That's the real you. And nobody seems to be able to connect to it or connect with it. And if you held onto that being and ignored all the outer projections of what you are and what you do and what your worth is, you'd be a much more content, happy human. You'd observe life, you wouldn't be pushed about by it. Now if you've managed to preserve that sense of being, if you can spend most of your time being. When you have kids, you know they're going through that same process. And in your state of being, you can connect with their being, what they're feeling, that real thing inside them. They'll feel seen. There will be a connection. Because your being and your child's being and everybody else's being in the end is one. As they say in so many places, we're all one. That seems a bit ridiculous, because we can see we aren't. But enough time spent being and you'll see how true it is. And when you can recognize the being in your child all the way through, so you're not reacting to its changing outside, but you're reacting to that very being that's inside, there won't be a problem with that connection if you stay conscious of being and recognize the being that your child is. Respond to that being, see that being, realize that's what they are. They're that very being, the same as you are. And if you can keep that connection and that realization, there won't be a separation. There won't be a disconnect. Because the real in you will be connecting with the real in them. And when the real in you is recognized, you respond differently. When the real in them is recognized, they will respond differently to just dealing with what they've become in the outside. Try that. Try withdrawing into your own being and recognize the being in your child. Might take a couple of tries, but the more you get that together, the better your relationship will be. And the same applies with your spouse. See them. See the being, not the outside, not the identity, but the being that's always the same, right from childhood to the end. You know what it is because you've experienced it in certain moments and then forgotten about it. Return to it, practice returning to it, and just being, not being Mr. and Mrs. so-and-so, or the architect, or the truck driver, or the anything else. Be. Just be. It can't be explained, it has to be done. But if you can find that being within you, which isn't something separate from you, it is you. All the rest is a projection on the outside, which in the end has no reality and can just be dropped. Find that being in yourself. And see that being in everybody else, especially your kids. And it will bring such joy to you. And the outside world will not really be able to interfere. Just be. And let them be. And in your being, see them being. It's a path to a relationship that most people can't even dream of.